Then, after that, the Christ's rule and the great white throne judgment, heaven starts. And that's the greatest presentation of what heaven is. And basically, Revelation 21 and 22, we see ourselves as saints enjoying God's invitation. We get to dwell with him. You talk about captivating. You know, you go to movies to see things. How would you like to actually go to the place? How would you like to actually go see a galaxy? How would you like to go see a comet? How would you like to go see the Marianas Trench and see all those creatures that are down there, you know, glowing and are so beautiful? Or go to the Antarctic. You understand what I mean? Heaven is going to be going through the universe with the Creator, but living with him. And we'll spend a whole hour looking at that. God is with us. We're at home in heaven forever. So basically, here's your second note. This is the test. The biggest part of our test is you matching. On one side, it's going to be chapters 1 through 3. And what would you pick on this side? Christ, church on earth. Or on this side, it'll be Revelation 20, 1 to 6. What would you match it with, you know? Christ, earthly millennial rule. Do you see that? So you have to know the 7 clear events in Revelation, the number of chapters. So that's important. So however you do it, put a box around it or something. Very important to you to know what's going on in these chapters. And that's going to be on the test. Now, everything in Revelation tracks with the rest of the Bible. What you see here is when Paul, did you guys have Chris Ganeiken do an Acts yet? Or does he do Acts? Have you had Acts? Did Chris do it or someone else?
We had a new guy and he was so good.
But not Chris from India. Oh, well, I'm glad the new guy was so good. Do you remember Paul on Mars Hill? You remember that? When Paul talked to all the philosophers in Athens? Do any of you remember that? That's a highlight of chapter 17. Did you think about how Paul shared the gospel in Acts 17? He has a 3-part gospel presentation. He says, you've ignored your Creator, you rejected your Redeemer, and the judge is coming. That's exactly how Paul shares the gospel with the Athenians. But you know what Paul adds? What Revelation adds? Look at that verse at the bottom. The gospel is always attached to impending doom. Some people say it's negative to share, the judgment of God on sin. Well, Jesus didn't think it was. Jesus spoke 2 for 1, twice about hell for every time he talked about heaven. 2 for 1. Twice as many times Jesus warns people about hell for every time once he tells them heaven's great. See, Jesus believed in warning people of impending doom. So does Peter, so does John, but especially Paul's big on it. And this is what Paul says. This is the second coming. 2 Thessalonians 1, 8 and 9. In flaming fire, taking vengeance on those who do not know God and on those who do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. When I share the gospel, I'm as loving and positive and friendly as I can be. And I say to them, do you know what makes me go out of my comfort zone to talk to you? Did you know it's hard to tell someone they're going to hell? It's hard to tell someone they're a sinner. I start by telling them I'm the worst sinner that I know in the whole world, because I am, because I don't know you. I don't know why you do what you do. I don't know how much you know, but I sure know me. I know I've been in church all my life. I've read the Bible. I know the truth of God. So I'm the worst sinner I know, up close, personally. Well, that usually disarms them, Now, you have to be careful. I remember I was witnessing to a waitress at Red Robin or whatever it's called. I had the whole staff of our church there. And the waitress came up and said, who's paying the bill? And I said, I'll pay the bill. I said, but you have to watch out for this group. They're all convicts. She backed up. She looked at all the staff guys. They're convicts. Later on in the meal, she came over and she said to me, what did they do? She wanted to know how scared of them she should be. Were they murderers, or rapists or what? I said, they're all convicted, guilty sinners. She stood there. She had to think about that for a minute. What did that mean? That opened the door to sharing the gospel with her, because that's what all of us are. And if we don't obey the gospel, we're coming toward doom. We're to be God's servants, verse 1 says, to show his servants. That's what we're supposed to be. That's the whole thing I started with. We're called to be full-time ministers of the gospel. What that means is we live it and we share it. To minister the gospel is not to do what I'm doing, and that's one form of it. But you know what the big one is? To believe it, to live it, and share it. Not all the time, not to everyone. We're all called in a different way. Do you know how you know what God's will is for you? What do you like to do? Remember, God designed you. He designed what you're good at. He designed what you love. He designed what people around you say, wow, you're really good at art. You're really good at music. You're really good at sports. You're really good at, building stuff. Wow, you understand the computer. Boy, your pictures are out of this world. Do any of you notice that you see that in other people? You see what they're really good at? Who designed what you're underlying really good at is? God. That's called your giftedness, not your spiritual gifts. That's a whole different dimension. But God uses how he built you with that spiritual Greek word pneumatikoi.